What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Hatchet II. So in my previous review I did Hatchet and I talked about how I initially just found the second movie first on DVD, and that was the first one I ever checked out. So for the longest time that was my favorite Hatchet movie. After rewatching the first one and rewatching Hatchet 2, I think Hatchet 2 is decent, but I don't know if it would necessarily still be my favorite in the franchise. To be honest, I did think that the first Hatchet was a better movie overall, and I did just enjoy my experience with it more. But I still do like Hatchet 2. I think it's, a solid slasher movie and a solid sequel, but yeah, like since I've just rewatched the first two, I don't I don't think the second one, like if I were to rate these, I don't think the second one would still be my favorite. I think that was just because it was the first one I ever checked out, but like I said, it's still a decent time. I know this one is generally hated. I think a lot of people view this one as the worst in the franchise, and I don't know. Like, I still gotta rewatch the third one and then Victor Crowley, but like, some people really hate Hatchet 2. I don't think it's bad. Like, I don't hate it. So I don't really understand the hate for it. I mean, it is kind of like, if you're just looking, like, if you're thinking like objectively, like, the quality is a lot lower than the first one, and the tone is a little bit different. But like I said, I think this is a good movie overall still. So yeah, I had a decent time with it. So this movie pretty much picks up where the last one left off. We have the final girl from the first movie, Mary Beth, but now she's played by Danielle Harris, who I mean, she's the GOAT. She's fantastic. I love Danielle Harris. So anyways, the movie picks up right where the last one left off. You have Mary Beth, who is, who has survived the events of the first movie, and she wants to go back to the swamp because her deceased loved ones are still there, and she wants to retrieve them, give them a proper burial, all that. So she enlists the help of Reverend Zombie, who's once again played by Tony Todd, and Reverend Zombie gathers this group of hunters, and he offers them $500 each to go in the swamp for a night and just look for Victor Crowley, and if they find Victor Crowley and kill him, they get $5,000. And all of these people, they just think that this is like a genuine offer by Reverend Zombie. But Reverend Zombie, in this movie, he's kind of a sleazebag, and he has ulterior motives. So two of the people in this group were actually involved in the murder of Victor Crowley, and Reverend Zombie has this idea that if these two remaining people who killed Victor Crowley are killed by Victor Crowley, then the curse will be lifted, and Victor Crowley's spirit can rest, and he will no longer haunt the swamp. And once this group of people gets to the swamp, all hell breaks loose, and Victor Crowley just starts killing everyone. So that's the basic plot summary. First thing that I want to get into, I thought the some of the new story elements were actually pretty good. So like I mentioned, there was this whole concept of, if some of the people who were initially involved in the murders are killed, then maybe the curse will be lifted. I thought that was a nice, new, fresh story element. And then something else that we got in this movie that I enjoyed was we got more of a backstory on the origin of Victor Crowley himself. So basically, um, Victor Crowley's dad had this love affair with his wife's nurse because his wife had terminal cancer, and right before Victor Crowley's dad's wife died, she cursed the love child of Victor Crowley's dad and his like lover or whatever, and then that's why Victor Crowley came out all deformed, and that like he had this like initial curse placed on him right when he came out of the womb, and right when his mother actually saw him, she just died because because he was just like so ugly. She was like, I can't even deal with this. So I liked that we got a little bit more backstory on Victor Crowley, and since I'm talking about that, so um, you know, Kane Hodder plays Victor Crowley as an adult, but he also plays Victor Crowley's dad, which is cool for him because he doesn't always you know, get to play roles where he's not in like 8 hours worth of makeup. But there was like with a couple like emotional scenes with him where he's like crying, and like there's this one instance where he's going to this house and he's like, you killed my son, you killed my son, and he has tears dripping down his face. Like I thought Kane Hodder's acting when he wasn't actually in the makeup was actually pretty good, and it was cool that he got like an actual speaking role where he's not in makeup, because he rarely gets that, and that was actually part of the reason why he agreed to do Hatchet, because the first Hatchet, because Adam Green kind of enticed him with that idea, like, oh, you'll get to play Victor Crowley's dad as well, and you'll have lines, and you will actually see your face on screen. So that was cool that Kane Hodder, once again got to actually play a character that's, not some monster dude. And, I think he did very well. So that was cool. Something else that I really liked about this movie, and this is what I liked about it when I initially saw it, was like Tony Todd is like a main character in this, and I think he absolutely killed it. His character was great because he was just a total sleazebag. He was just he was a bad dude. But I thought his acting was really good. His performance was phenomenal. And there's actually in the third act he goes like toe to toe with Victor Crowley and he fights him. That was awesome. So everything surrounding Tony Todd was really pretty darn good in my opinion, and I'm glad that he got like, I don't know, more of a serious role in this, because I liked his little cameo in the first one, and bringing him back as like a main character was awesome. Also I really like that Danielle Harris got the role of Mary Beth in this. I was watching the behind the scenes, and I guess Danielle Harris actually auditioned to play Mary Beth for the first Hatchet movie, but she got turned down for the role, and then she like I don't even think she auditioned for Hatchet 2. I think Adam Green just reached out to her, and I think she like joked with him like, you gotta apologize to me, you gotta say like, I was right, you should have had me play Mary Beth. So I thought that was kind of fun, and I'm a huge Danielle Harris fan. I love Halloween 4 and 5, and I've seen like quite a few other movies that she's in. I like that Camp Dread movie with her, Felissa Rose, and Eric Roberts. So I'm a huge Danielle Harris fan, and that was another reason why when I initially watched this, like this one was my favorite, because then I watched the first one after. I'm like, oh, Danielle Harris is not in this. Oh, Tony Todd is barely in this. So the fact that, you know, we get Danielle Harris in part 2 and 3, I'm all about that. And the fact that we get Tony Todd so much in this, that was awesome as well. And then, you know, once again, the kills in this movie are fantastic, and you do have some good comedy in this as well. I feel like the comedy in this is still good, but I don't think it works as well as it did in the first movie. Because in the first movie, the comedy was mainly surrounding like the interactions between the characters, and it was kind of used to break the tension. You know, you'd have these tense moments, and then you'd break the tension a little bit with like a little comedic sequence or some little comedic dialogue. So then you're not like, so then, you know, you get like a second to breathe, and then boom, like something crazy happens again, and you're not expecting it. In this movie, some of the kills were more comedic in nature, where in like the first one there was like comedy surrounding the interactions between the characters, but once it came to the kills, they were like deadly serious. This had more kind of like comical, goofy kills, some of the kills, which I thought were good. They were still like creative and very gory, but it gave the overall movie more of like a silly tone, where you didn't take the movie overall as serious. And you know, the comedy in this, I feel like there was like less comedic instances, and this movie mainly focuses on Mary Beth. You know, in the first movie it focused on like Ben, Marcus, and Mary Beth, and you had a lot more comedy with the main characters. This has like some comedic sequences sprinkled throughout, mainly with those like comedic kills. And then there's this one character who named Vernon, and he's pretty much the comic relief. I really liked him, but other than that, there's like not a lot of comedy with the main group of characters. So this movie, I thought the comedy worked in this movie, but I don't think it worked as well as it did in the first movie. And then, like I said, the kills in this were still great. You know, like I said, the comedic kills were a little goofy, but I still thought they were very creative, so they didn't bother me. I still thought they were good, but some of the serious kills were fantastic. There some standouts that I would like to mention. There's this one instance where you know, John Carl Beekler's character, he gets decapitated with his own intestines. And then later on in the movie, when Tony Todd is killed, he's pretty much like cut in half, and then his skin is ripped off of him, and he's like skinned alive, and you know, he's still like talking, and it's just, he looks like in the first Hellraiser movie. What was the uncle's name in that? Frank, when he like comes back, and he's like his body is like regenerating, and he's just like a body with no skin, and he's just like muscles and tendons. Like that's how like Tony Todd's character looked right before he died. Like he was just skinned alive, and the practical effects were fantastic. So once again, the kills in this were great, and when it comes to a slasher movie, the kills are a huge part of it. So yeah, the kills in this were absolutely fantastic. Once again, they did not disappoint. Something else that I want to get into that's like kind of a negative about this movie, even though I did think this was, you know, a decent follow up, and I liked the movie overall. I feel like I did not care about the characters as much. Like I cared about Mary Beth, and I mean, Reverend Zombie. He was kind of an antagonist. Like even though he was a main character, like we weren't really rooting for him. So I liked his character, but he wasn't someone that I was supposed to be like rooting for. You know, like in terms of characters that I was supposed to like be invested in, there weren't as many. Like in the first movie, I really cared about Mary Beth, I cared about Ben, I cared about Marcus, and they were built up more. You know, they were more fleshed out. In this movie, I feel like we just had like more of a random cast of characters to kind of just pad out the body count, you know. But you know, the characters were still likable, and some of them were like kind of funny, but they were kind of like more one note, and they didn't really have as much personality as the characters in the first one. Even Sean in the first one, like I did care about him, and I got to like know him more, and I like kind of sad when he died. But now that I'm mentioning Sean, I gotta mention Justin. So basically, Sean died in the first one, and now Perry Shen plays his brother, who's supposed to be like his twin brother, and his name's Justin. And I didn't care about Justin as much as Sean. I thought Sean was funnier in the first one, but Justin still had like some funny moments. Like he's doing this whole French accent and giving people like Chips Ahoy cookies in the beginning, which in that instance you do get to. I don't know if I noticed this last time, but Lloyd Kaufman is like in the crowd for a little bit, which I don't know. Like I don't know if people are familiar with him, but he's like the head honcho at Troma, and I do like I am a fan of quite a few Troma movies, so it was cool to see Lloyd Kaufman. But anyways, the character of Justin, you know, you have the same actor Perry Shen playing a different character, and that's like a kind of a running gag in all of the Hatchet movies, because Perry Shen comes back in every single one of these movies, but you know his character died in the first one, and then he plays a different character who dies in this one, and I think in part 3 and 4 he plays he plays a different character, but he plays like he's in part 3 and 4 it's the same character. It's not like he's a different character in part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like in part 3 and 4 he's playing a different character than Justin, but I believe he survives part 3 and then he comes back in part 4. I don't know if that made sense, but I just wanted to mention that I do like that whole running gag in the franchise where Perry Shen comes back and he's you know the same actor, but he's just playing like a different character pretty much every time. So I think that's kind of fun. That's kind of funny. But anyways, the characters in this, even though like I do like, you know, like Daniel Harris as Mary Beth, and you know, Tony Todd as Reverend Zombie, and some of the side characters are fun. Like, you know, Justin was kind of funny, and I really liked Vernon. He was pretty funny. Like I always liked that little song he's singing where he's like, and the chicken and the biscuits and the gravy. I don't know why. He's just singing some random little song, but I thought that was funny, and his whole character was funny, so I liked Vernon. But overall, I thought the characters in this, they weren't as like fleshed out. They weren't as built up as the characters in the first movie. Even the side characters in the first movie, I got to know a little bit more, and I cared more when they died. The characters in this were more just like throwaway characters, like I said, to, you know, just pad out the body count. So that was somewhat of a negative. But now I'm gonna get into my last point here, and that is this is something like, you know, since before recording these reviews, I've already seen all the Hatchet movies, and okay, in this movie, Victor Crowley looks different than he did in the first movie. Like the makeup is different, and in all the movies he looks kind of different, and I think that's hilarious, and you see that in so many franchises. Like, you know, in the Halloween franchise, the mask looks different in every entry. Like, you know, the mask in part 4 looks way different from the mask in the first 2 movies, and then part 5 is a completely different mask. Part 6 is a different mask. In all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Freddy Krueger's makeup looks different. Like it, it even from Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 2, the makeup looks different, and then like in part 5 and 6, Freddy Krueger, he almost has this like bloated, puffy look to the makeup. But I just think it's funny that like all these horror icons, these slasher villains, they look so different from movie to movie. And you know, I'm just some asshole with a video camera talking about movies. So you know, I bet it's very hard to recreate the same exact look. You know, sometimes you have different makeup people from movie to movie, and sometimes it's like years between sequels. Like this movie came out around like 4 years after the first one. So, you know, I'm not saying that it's like easy to just completely recreate the same look from movie to movie, but I just think it's funny that all these slasher villains, they look so different from movie to movie, and it's like, I don't know, you're it kind of like takes you out of it. It's like the same character, but it's not. Like, I don't know. It just kind of I don't know. It doesn't like sit well with you. Like you have to. It takes you like 5 minutes to process it. That it's like, okay, this is the same character, even though they look almost like completely different. So I thought that was kind of funny that you know, Victor Crowley looks so different movie to movie, and I mean that's like every horror franchise. That's a slasher movie trope at this point. So I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that I you know, had to mention that. But anyways, that was my last little point. So now I'm gonna get into my recommendation and head out. So like I said, this movie Hatchet II, after rewatching it, I don't like it as much as when I initially saw it, but you know, I still think it's a good movie. It's a very, you know, serviceable slasher movie. No, it's not just serviceable. It's a good slasher movie, and it's a very very decent follow up. But I don't think it's like by any means great. It's just decent overall in my opinion. But I think it's worth watching for the kills, for all of the cameos from all these like legendary horror actors and actresses, and you know, there is some fun to be had with the comedy. So I think it's a decent movie, and I think it's definitely worth the watch. And if you're a fan of the first Hatchet, I would recommend watching Hatchet II. So that's been my recommendation, and this has been my review of Hatchet II. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.